The night I left my marriage, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel empowered. I felt relief. And right after that, a small part of me wondered what came next. My friend poured us both a shot in our new apartment. She raised her glass and said, "To new beginnings." And I remember thinking, this is what freedom is supposed to feel like. But when you're 37, starting over doesn't feel like a new beginning. It feels like you stepped into the unknown and everything around you is unfamiliar. I set myself free. I knew it was the right decision. And for a moment, I felt like I could breathe. But freedom is heavy when you're starting from zero. He came back with promises, said he had changed, said things would be different, but I knew they wouldn't be. Because words without action aren't change. They're just words. Choosing yourself looks like walking away, even when they're asking you to come back, and knowing there's nothing left to go back to. Even if you don't know what comes next, at least you know you're finally safe. If you're standing at the beginning of that road right now, I get it. But here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. No one is coming to save you. This is a life rebuilt by you. And today, I'm going to show you where to start. Welcome to A Life Rebuilt. I'm Jenny. I spent 7.5 years in a toxic marriage. I left at 37, and by 41, I rebuilt everything from that empty apartment to a life that I actually love. I'm sharing the 7 things I wish someone had told me when I was standing exactly where you are. The first thing I wish someone had told me is that the grief is going to hit harder than you expect. Even if you were the one that left, even if you knew it was the right decision. Because you're not just grieving the person, you're grieving the life you thought you were going to have, the version of you that made the commitment, and the time you don't get back. This is the part that almost pulled me back later. When the grief hits, your brain starts rewriting the story. You start remembering the good moments, and you start questioning yourself. And suddenly, leaving feels like the mistake. But what you need to know is that part of that pain isn't grief, it's withdrawal. When you're in a toxic cycle, your brain gets addicted to the highs and the lows. It's a trauma bond. So when you get that urge to check their socials or pick up the phone, that's not your heart. That's the toxic cycle trying to pull you back in. Missing them doesn't mean they were good for you. That's where you need support. You need your 2 or 3 people, the ones you call at 11 p.m. when the doubt starts creeping in. For me, that was my parents and my close friend. Figure out who those people are for you now. Rebuilding your life doesn't mean doing it alone. The second thing is that for a while, you might not recognize yourself. That's not a crisis, it's part of the process. When you've spent years in a relationship like that, you don't just lose your peace, you lose your preferences, what you like, what you want. You start filtering yourself. And over time, even who you're allowed to be starts to disappear. So when it ends and everything feels quiet, that silence is terrifying. But it's also space. And for the first time in a long time, that space is yours. What helped me was going back to the last version of myself I fully recognized, the 28-year-old version of me. She was fun, vibrant, full of energy, full of life, and she had hope. Somewhere along the way, I lost that. I felt dull, like my spark was gone, beaten down, exhausted, not excited about anything, scared of the decision I had just made, and convinced I had wasted years I could never get back. So I went back to her, and I started doing things she used to love. Some of them still fit, and some didn't. I went back to dancing and joined a dance team. Suddenly, I was around people who didn't know the old version of me. I even went to EDC, and realized very quickly that I am not 28 anymore. But that in itself was a discovery worth making. So don't be afraid to try things that feel small or even a little silly. You don't find yourself by thinking, you find yourself by trying. The third thing, nobody warned me about this, and it messed with me more than anything else. Your body doesn't leave the relationship when you do. When I left, I was exhausted in a way I couldn't explain. Not just tired or drained, I was on edge. Even when the house was quiet, my body didn't feel safe. I would jump at small noises and I would feel anxious for no reason. When you've been living in chaos for that long, your body is still bracing for what's next. And this is the part no one talks about. The trauma doesn't just leave your body because you left the person. It stays in your habits, in the way you shrink yourself, in how quickly you apologize, in how you still feel like you need permission just to exist. And even years later, I still have to pay attention to how I think, the way I react, the way I show up. Because some of those patterns don't just disappear. You have to stay aware. Healing isn't just mental. You have to physically move it out of your body. For me, it was the gym. Not to lose weight, but to feel strong, to feel like my body belonged to me again. Part of that was how I treated my body, by moving and eating better. Because when your body feels good, your mind follows. I personally started creating small moments of safety for myself. One thing I still do every night is light a candle before I start my nighttime routine. I create a calm environment by dimming the lights, turning on some soft music while I do my skincare. And it sounds simple, but that small moment tells my body, you are safe. You don't have to live like that anymore. So find your version of that. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be yours. Because coming back to yourself starts with feeling safe in your own body again. The fourth thing is something no one prepares you for. Choosing yourself feels wrong at first because for so long you didn't. You made yourself smaller. You stayed quiet. You put your needs last just to keep the peace. After years of doing that, of course it feels selfish. So let me reframe this for you. Choosing yourself is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's what you do when that doubt starts creeping in. It's not texting them back, it's saying no without explaining. It's walking away, even when it hurts. For me, one of the first things I did was look into freezing my eggs. I had always wanted to become a mom. I refused to let that door close because of a relationship that took so much from me. I didn't know what my options were. I just knew I needed to explore them for my own peace. So I went, I asked questions, and I got the answers I needed. And that alone, just taking that step, gave me something I hadn't felt in years, a sense of control over my own future. Your version of this looks different, but the principle is the same. Find the thing that puts your future back in your hands. That's what choosing yourself looks like. It's not dramatic, it's not loud. It's small decisions that change the direction of your life over time. So find your decision, the one that says, my life belongs to me now, and start there. If you've made it this far, you already know this is for you. The first part is about getting through it. What comes next is how you rebuild your life. So stay with me. The fifth thing, you can't rebuild your life in the same environment that's keeping you stuck. If everything around you still looks like your old life, your mind stays there. So I started removing things, photos, gifts, anything that kept me tied to the past. Not because it didn't matter, but because I needed space to move forward. I remember catching myself still asking for permission, like I was going to get in trouble just for living. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't actually left yet. because I was still living like I was there. You don't heal in the same place that broke you. And this goes beyond your home. Look at your phone, your social media. Who are you still following? What are you still seeing every day? Because if your feed is full of your old life or a version of life that makes you feel like you're behind, then you're not actually moving forward. So I started changing mine. I unfollowed anything that pulled me back or made me feel like I wasn't enough. And I started filling it with things that felt lighter, hopeful, more like the life I was trying to build. Because whether you realize it or not, what you see every day shapes how you feel about your own life. So you have to be intentional about it. Just remember, no one is going to do this for you. Unfollow them, delete the number, clear the reminders, because your peace is worth more than their access. And this is the hard part. Not everyone who knew the old version of you gets access to the new one. You don't owe anyone access to your rebuilding. Clear the space, then be intentional about what you bring back in. Your environment should reflect the life you're building, not the one you're trying to escape. The sixth thing is something that a lot of women don't want to admit. At some point, you stopped showing up for yourself. Not because you didn't care, but because you were busy surviving. This isn't about looking better. It's about seeing yourself again. When you've been in a relationship like that, you stop recognizing the woman in the mirror. So I had to start small, getting my hair done, taking care of my skin, putting on something that felt like me again. But it wasn't about how I looked. It was about how I felt in my body, like I was coming back to myself. And then there was a day I was on stage with my dance team right before our performance. I was nervous and excited, and I felt fully alive. And I remember thinking, this is me. And that's what this is really about. It's not vanity, it's self respect. It's choosing to show up for yourself even when no one is watching. Sometimes the way you show up on the outside is the first step to remembering who you are on the inside. The seventh thing is non negotiable. You have to take control of your finances. I know, for a lot of women, this is where fear lives, especially if money was used as control or something you were kept in the dark about. And if you're still in it right now, that fear you feel around money, that's not weakness. That's what control does to you. You're not behind, you're just not free yet. But before anything else, your safety comes first. If you're still in that situation or just getting out, keep your documents, your cash, and anything important somewhere safe or with someone you trust. Once you're safe, financial independence becomes the foundation you rebuild your life on. Not overnight, but step by step. And it starts simpler than you think. Knowing what you have, opening accounts in your name, creating something that's yours, no matter how small it feels. I actually put together a financial freedom blueprint that walks through this step by step, from immediate safety to long-term independence. You can find the link in the description if you need that support. Taking control of your life means taking control of your money, quietly if you have to, but intentionally. And after all that, this is what everything comes down to. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. You are not starting over. You are starting smarter. I know it doesn't feel that way right now. It feels like you're behind, like everyone else has a head start, and you're standing at the beginning with nothing. But that's not the truth. Everything you went through taught you something about people, about yourself, about what you will never accept again. The woman who rebuilds her life at 37, 40, or 45 is not the same woman she was at 25. She is more aware, more intentional, and she doesn't settle for a life that doesn't feel like hers. If you take one thing from this video, don't try to fix everything at once. Just choose one thing, one decision that brings you back to yourself. Because this isn't the end of your life. This is the moment you finally take it back. If you're ready to rebuild, subscribe and we'll do it together. Comment one thing you're choosing for yourself this week, because saying it out loud is where it starts to become real. Let's rebuild, redefine, and rise.